It is pretty cool, and I'm glad we could get together again after 7 years. I think I was just getting started with the whole robotic surgery thing when we talked the first time, and knew a lot about it and had a little bit of experience with it. But now, yeah, we've met a major milestone with 1,000 cases, which is kind of where everybody wants to ultimately get. There's a learning curve to everything. It's a lot less than 1,000, but it's still kind of nice at 1,000. It means we're on to something that's working here, you know.
Welcome to Town Talk on News Talk 1230 WFVA. Over the next hour, you'll be introduced to business and local leaders impacting our community. Now, the host of Town Talk, Ted Schubel.
Good morning. We're going to focus this morning on advanced robotic surgery, specifically the Da Vinci surgical system. Dr. Bradley Ryan here this morning. He's with Surgical Associates of Fredericksburg. Dr. Ryan, it is good to have you here. Good to meet you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Very exciting stuff. It's a great new technology. It's an enhancement on some things that surgeons have been doing for decades now, but a great enhancement that really benefits the patients that can receive their candidates for robotic surgery.
It's been refined, yeah. I mean, the basic technology is the same. It's still minimally invasive surgery. We're still using cameras, what most people are used to with laparoscopic surgery, but going through a robotic platform. What has changed is just a lot of refinement on the instruments that we're using, the way that they move, the things that are being done with it these days that are pretty incredible. A couple of new technologies that come in really handy with as far as illuminating certain things inside the body and preventing or lessening the chances of potential complications, even making recovery even faster than it was before. Just enhancements on the same ideas of minimally invasive surgery and robotic surgery, just a lot better these days. And we've seen that bear out in our statistics, too, of how fast people get over surgery, which, of course, is the main point. You have to have surgery. Let's not inconvenience you or take you away from life or recreation or whatever it is for any longer than we have to. And that's gotten a lot better with the machines. We started off with our Intuitive, the company that makes the machines, started off with the S. That was their very first version. Our first robot here in Fredericksburg was the SI, which was sort of a version 2.0 of the original machine. And then they moved to the X, and where we are, the XI now, which is the robot that we're using now here in Fredericksburg. And the enhancements are palpable, but just more of the same, but better, I guess is the best way to describe the robotic surgery. Yeah.
I remember when we talked before, it was it's pretty remarkable that Fredericksburg has one of these machines. It is,
and that's sort of the really unique position of Fredericksburg. I mean, it's growing like crazy. Like anybody that drives their car around Fredericksburg knows these days. Just with the traffic and the businesses and the flourishing of the downtown now, I've seen a lot of those changes since I've been here, which I believe was 2006 when my wife and I got here for the first time. And we are triangulated by the DC-Baltimore area. We've got Charlottesville, we've got Richmond, but it's really nice to be able to offer some of this stuff that you can get in the big city, if you will, here in Fredericksburg, because it's really becoming mainstream. If it's not mainstream already, I don't know what the percentage of surgeons like myself that use robotics, but that's climbing. There's no reason we can't have that technology here in Fredericksburg and offer that to our patients here, so you can get the same thing you can get without the travel up and down 95 or wherever else you could go for this. You can get it all right here in Fredericksburg, which is nice.
Still a lot of training? Are you still having to do a lot of training to keep your skills up? Or after 1,000?
After 1,000, you can pretty much have it, yeah, I think. It's general surgery. We do the same things over and over again. I always tell my patients you could probably train a bear to do what I do. They just have to do it 1,000 times. So no additional training to go from one machine to the other. No, just enhancements on it. There are obviously, we do continuing medical education. There's symposiums. There's even groups. In fact, there's a Facebook group of all things that I'm involved in that we can communicate back and forth. And you see people of all different stages. Hey, I'm doing my third robotic case ever. Any advice on how I should be doing this? To, hey, I've done 1,000. I'm going to try something new with the machine. Any advice? And so through more of an informal kind of training, that's how you keep your skills up or develop new. But you don't have to, luckily, go back and reinvent the wheel every time there's a new robot that comes out. So,
and you mentioned, and it's always been the case, just to be able to use the robot makes recovery so much faster.
It's so much faster. We've taken some surgeries without really going into specifics that normally took 4 to 6 weeks, and I crunch my statistics every January. Some of them are up on my website, but I think we've got some of them down to a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, from 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, that's technology that's worth its price tag, in my opinion.
Well, and you think about it, that the type of recovery and the type of surgeries that our parents and grandparents went through compared to today, it's just a different ballpark.
Yeah. Everything's, in fact, there are a lot of things, and this is sort of cutting edge stuff that we do a little bit of, but it hasn't really become mainstream. But there's even some patients, believe it or not, that are good candidates for outpatient colon surgery, where they can remove a part of your colon. Back in our parents' and grandparents' day, you'd be in the hospital for a couple of weeks. With the robotic technology, we've gotten your average colon surgery down to maybe a 2 or 3 day stay in the hospital. And there are even some people that are, again, on the cutting edge, that are turning colon resections into outpatient surgery, which means, just like a gallbladder or a hernia, you come in, you have your surgery, you go home the same day. And that's pretty remarkable stuff.
What a great time to be alive. Look at this.
It's really incredible. It really is. I mean, you see the acceleration of how technology is advancing. It's exponential, and this is a really fun time to be a surgeon. I kind of sometimes feel like my grandfather, who went from riding horses to commercial airfare, commercial air travel, and obviously this is different but similar in that we're seeing these surgeries. I can remember in my training, which was late 90s, early 2000s, where we put colon resections. Everybody got a giant incision, and everybody was in the hospital for a week, down to 2 or 3 days, or in some instances outpatient surgery. And that's in 22 years that I've been doing this, 23 years or so that I've been doing this. That's pretty incredible stuff. And with still great outcomes and safety and minimal complications and all those other kinds of things. So it's not like we're, mavericks out there just seeing how things work. I mean, you're still getting better quality in some instances. I mean, there's a lot of good literature on robotics giving you higher lymph node yields on colon resections and lower hernia recurrences, better, and yet at the same time more convenient and less taxing and less painful, and all those other things that surgery usually brings along with it. It's pretty remarkable stuff.
You wonder 7 years from now, if we're sitting around talking about this, what we're going to be talking about.
Well, we will be sitting down talking about this again in 7 years. It'll be interesting to see where we are. We're not quite to the Star Trek where they scan you with a little thing and diagnose you, but we're creeping up on that type stuff. Yeah.
You think back 1,000. How many patients have truly been helped so much? And just with recovery and quality of life over those 1,000 surgeries that you've used it with.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. I mean, I had a good subjective feel for it, but once I started crunching my data and I'm looking at things like how long did they take pain medication, how long before they went from being in pain to just kind of sore, how long before the soreness went away, and one of the most important data points I'm looking at is how long before you return to normal activity. And you're seeing in single digit day type numbers instead of, we went from, instead of, gauging that in months to gauging that in weeks, and now we're gauging it in days, and that's been pretty remarkable.
And that's what makes this so incredible.
Yeah, and that's why we use it, and that's why the hospitals invest in the technology. This isn't reimbursable technology, but the benefits to the patient are so incredible that's why we do it. I mean, I have some surgeries now where, and this is more rare, more uncommon than common, but I've done colon surgery on people that took 0 narcotic pain medication after the fact. Hernia repairs, which are historically very painful, 0 narcotics after the fact. And with the world that we live in now, this is a big deal. How would you say recreational use of narcotics right now is now the number 1 killer of people ages 18 to 45. I mean, this is a big deal. And of course, there's lots of lots of reasons why that is, some political, some social that we won't get into, but there are a tremendous number of people that end up with problems of opioid use that started off with a prescription from their doctor. So we're getting farther and farther away from that. And so, not only lives saved by, most of the surgeries I do aren't saving lives. They're making them better, but they're not saving their life. Yeah. But if you can take that into being less inconvenient, but more importantly, less use of opioid, narcotic type pain medication, then hopefully we'll have some impact on even bigger problems outside of just the surgical treatment of medical problems. Surgical Associates of Fredericksburg, we're on the internet. Google me. I'm all over the place. You'll get my reviews as well, which everybody likes to see these days, and luckily they're pretty good.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
This is really substantial, and just the fact that you and I talked 7 years ago when you were in the infancy of this is awesome.
I can't remember how many cases I had done, but it was fairly new at the time. I think I started robotics around 2016, 2017, and now over 1,000 cases later, here we are again, and I'm still very excited about it in practice and even as potential in the next, before my career is over. I think it's going to be even better.